When was someone playing chess while you were playing checkers? I was 23 when I discovered my boyfriend had been starving me of affection on purpose. After 3 years together, he'd barely glance up when I entered a room and turned away each time I reached for him in bed. I'd lie there aching with rejection, convinced I'd done something wrong, that I'd somehow become unlovable overnight. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night when I found him in our bedroom hunched over his laptop, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. Whatever he was watching, he minimized it the second I walked in, but not before I caught the flush on his cheeks and the way his breathing had quickened. That's when I knew we needed to have the conversation I'd been dreading for months. He closed the laptop and patted the bed beside him with a gesture that felt rehearsed. For the first time in weeks, he really looked at me, and I saw calculation in his eyes that I'd mistaken for distance. When he took my hands and started talking about ways to reignite our passion, about things other couples did to feel connected again, my stomach started to sink before my brain fully processed his words. "I want to watch you with someone else," he said. The words hung in the air between us like a physical thing. He kept talking, using terms like hot wifing and ethical non-monogamy, painting a picture of couples who found their way back to each other through this ultimate act of trust. He promised it would bring back everything we'd lost, that seeing me desired by another man would remind him why he'd fallen in love with me in the first place. For 3 months, he conducted a careful campaign. Articles about modern relationships appeared on my pillow. He'd point out how we were basically roommates, how the spark had died, how this could save us. Each conversation chipped away at my resistance, especially when he'd look at me with those sad eyes and ask if I didn't want to feel desired again. I did. God, I did. So I said yes. The transformation was immediate and intoxicating. Jake became the boyfriend I remembered bringing flowers, cooking dinners, asking about my day. He couldn't keep his hands off me, and I was so grateful for his touch that I pushed down the queasy feeling when he mentioned he'd already picked someone, Marcus from his gym. The night arrived faster than I was ready for. I'd had 2 glasses of wine but felt stone cold sober as I watched Jake rearrange our bedroom with the efficiency of someone who'd thought about this moment in detail. He positioned a chair in the corner with perfect sightlines to the bed and adjusted the lighting like he was setting a stage. When he pulled out his phone to record, my hands started shaking. Marcus arrived looking uncomfortable, and I realized Jake hadn't told him the full dynamic, but my boyfriend was too busy playing director, ushering us toward the bedroom while he settled into his corner chair with bright, eager eyes. What happened next made me understand everything I'd been too desperate to see. Jake leaned forward in his chair, issuing instructions like we were performers, but Marcus wasn't listening to him. Instead, he kept checking my face, touching me like I might break, whispering questions about what I wanted. When tears pricked my eyes as Jake called out another directive, Marcus stopped immediately and pulled a blanket over me. "We don't have to do this," he said softly, his voice full of concern that my own boyfriends had lacked for months. Jake's excitement turned to irritation. He stood up from his chair, his face flushed with frustration that his fantasy wasn't playing out as scripted. The argument that followed opened my eyes completely. This had never been about reigniting our passion or saving our relationship. Marcus left shortly after, but not before looking me in the eye and saying quietly enough that Jake couldn't hear, "You deserve better than this." That night I slept on the couch, my mind replaying every manipulation disguised as relationship advice. When Marcus texted the next day to check if I was okay, I realized what genuine care looked like. 2 weeks later, when Jake finally noticed I was pulling away and panicked about losing me, it was too late. I moved in with my sister while Jake sent frantic texts about betrayal. First came anger, then bargaining, promises to try therapy, to never mention it again. By the time he reached the desperate 3 a.m. voicemails, I'd already stopped reading his messages. A month later, Marcus found me of Instagram and asked if I wanted to grab coffee as friends. No pressure, just checking in. That coffee turned into a 4-hour conversation, then weekly dinners, then something I hadn't expected to find. He asked about my dreams instead of my boundaries. When I mentioned I'd always wanted to try pottery, he signed us up for a class the next week. 3 months in, I posted a video of us at the farmer's market of him spinning me around in the produce section to some trending audio. My closest friends wouldn't stop talking about the way he looked at me. "If I can't have this, I want nothing at all," my roommate commented. What the comments didn't show was Jake's username appearing in my story views every single day. He'd watch everything within minutes of posting, Marcus's stories too. His digital footprint was a desperate trail following our happiness. He wanted to watch me with another man. Now it's all he could do.